Are you ready to embark on a magical story where fate and greed collide to create an unpredictable journey? Have you ever felt that life holds mysteries that we have never fully understood? That sometimes what we desire is the thing that can drown us? This is the story of a glorious kingdom, a princess with a special destiny, and a dark force willing to do anything to gain supreme power. In the glittering light of precious gems, behind the magnificent palace walls, there are conspiracies, betrayals, and a journey beyond anyone's imagination. The girl was thrust into an unwanted adventure, but it was in the darkness and danger that she found what she had been searching for all her life. But is fate destined, or is it just a test to find the worthy one? The ambitious man thought he could hold his destiny in the palm of his hand. But some things can never be controlled, no matter how powerful you are. This is not just a fairy tale, but a mirror of our own lives, where small choices can change our lives. Are you ready to explore this mystery? Before we continue our journey, where did you find this story? Leave a comment to let us know how you got here. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, a special story will be told just for you. In the kingdom of Celeria, where the brilliant sunlight shines on the magnificent golden towers, Queen Seraphina reigns with boundless love for her people. However, hidden behind her majestic smile is a lingering worry. Princess Aurora, her only daughter, has reached adulthood but has not yet found a worthy husband. Seraphina believes that Aurora not only needs a husband, but also someone who can protect the kingdom with her from the forces that are secretly rising. One evening, when the last rays of the day dyed the sky red, the royal mage Zorak entered the main hall. His eyes were as deep as the dark abyss. His deep voice resounded, "Your Majesty, it seems that something is troubling your heart." Seraphina sighed softly. Her eyes turned to the endless red carpet. "I am worried about Aurora's future. A woman with a pure heart deserves the best, but I have yet to find anyone of sufficient virtue." Zorak bowed his head, hiding his sinister smile. "Let me read the princess's astrology. Perhaps fate will illuminate the path." Under the light from the sparkling crystal ball, Zorak saw an extraordinary destiny. Fate had already been decided. Whoever marries the princess will possess great power, enough to conquer the world. In that moment, greed crept into his mind like a ghost, making him wonder, why should this fate belong to someone else? If I marry her, I will take the throne. Hiding his ambition under a pensive expression, Zorak bowed his head and said, "Your Majesty, the princess's destiny is too brilliant, but it also contains unpredictable disasters. If she marries, a disaster may befall the royal family." The prophecy made Seraphina shiver. "Do you have any way to protect her?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. Zorak poured venom into every word. "Put her in a crystal box filled with treasures and let her drift down the silver river. If fate has its way, it will lead her to someone truly worthy." The queen was stunned. Was it right to entrust her daughter to fate? But anxiety and fear filled her mind. She nodded, tears silently falling on her trembling hands. Aurora, upon hearing her mother's command, her heart ached endlessly. She looked out at the vast horizon, wondering, why should I leave when my heart has never made a mistake? But deep in her soul, she believed that every journey had its reason. Have you ever wondered if the hardships in your life are also a test of fate? Sometimes it is when we lose everything that we can find ourselves. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between your head and your heart? Aurora is about to face that, and the answer is not easy. The sparkling crystal box, studded with precious gems, gently glides on the silver river, where the water reflects the magical night sky. Princess Aurora sits inside, her dreamy eyes looking out at the transparent glass, her heart filled with conflicting emotions. She cannot help but wonder, is this the path that fate has arranged? Or is it just a challenge for me to find myself? The river carries her away from the Solaria Palace, away from the loving but binding arms of her mother, and into a vast world she has never touched. Each drop of water caressing the outside is like a whisper from the universe. Trust the path ahead. But can Aurora trust? Have you ever felt yourself being swept away by an uncontrollable current, forced to leave the familiar to face the unknown? Aurora understands that feeling better than ever. That night, the cold wind blew gently through every crack in the box, and the mist hovered around like invisible fingers of fate. Aurora closed her eyes and said to herself, "No matter where I drift, I am still myself." But then, the images of the royal palace, the queen's worried eyes, and the words of the magician Zorak all swirled in her mind like illusions that could not be dispelled. Far downstream, a mysterious land awaited her, the kingdom of Lunaris, where the moonlight reigned and protected lost souls. Prince Orion, the heir to the Lunaris dynasty, was camping by the riverbank with his entourage after a long day of wandering through the wild fields. Under the flickering firelight, when he bent down to scoop up cool water from the river, Orion was suddenly startled by the sparkling light floating on the water's surface. "What is that?" He stood up suddenly, his sharp blue eyes turned to the magical crystal box that was slowly drifting closer. Something deep inside him whispered that this was no ordinary object. Orion ordered, "Pull it up." The guards quickly pulled the box to the shore. The heavy breathing of the soldiers, the sound of the wind whistling through the forest, and the sound of water dripping on the surface of the box created a tense atmosphere. When Orion touched the lid of the box, his heart pounded. The whole group held their breath, waiting for the miracle hidden inside. And when the box opened, a brilliant light spread out, illuminating the entire area. Aurora appeared, her eyes sparkling like a calm lake, her hair shining like the dawn on the horizon. Orion was stunned by her gentle yet proud beauty. "Who are you?" The prince's voice spoke softly, as if afraid that any sound could destroy the illusion before his eyes. Aurora slowly raised her head, her voice resounding like sad music. "I am Aurora, princess of the Solaria kingdom. My mother believed that my fate would bring disaster, so she sent me down this river to let fate decide." Orion looked deep into her eyes, which contained both pain and resilience. He knelt before her, a strange feeling rising in his heart, as if he had been waiting for her all his life. "If your fate is tied to this river, then let me be your companion on that journey." Aurora was silent, her heart trembling at the sincerity in Orion's eyes. She gently touched his hand, as if in a wordless acceptance. A tear of relief rolled down her cheek, reflecting the magical moonlight. "Do you believe in fateful encounters? Are the turning points in life not sometimes coincidences, but prearranged pieces?" Aurora believes she has found a reason to continue. What about you? While Aurora was slowly finding new light in the kingdom of Lunaris, in Solaria, the mage Zorak was still patiently waiting for the crystal box that carried his dream of power. Standing on the highest balcony of the Black Tower, He watched the silver river winding like a giant snake. The wind blew through his silver-gray hair, swirling in his black cloak as if whispering dark prophecies. The box must have drifted to my domain by now, Zorak thought to himself, his lips curling into a cold smile. He had arranged everything perfectly. His loyal apprentice had been ordered to meet the box when it reached the shore. In the dark room, where only the candlelight flickered, Zorak gave a stern order. When the box arrives, bring it immediately to my room and lock the door. No matter what I say, no one is allowed to open the door. Understand? The servants bowed their heads, not daring to ask the reason. Little did they know that their master's greed had clouded his mind, turning him into a fool chasing after unrealistic dreams. But fate always has its way of teaching greedy people a lesson. On the distant riverbank, Prince Orion quickly understood the truth behind Aurora's prophecy. He knew that someone was plotting to take her for power, and he decided to act. Orion came up with a bold plan. He placed a fierce black panther in the empty crystal box to send a clear message to anyone who dared to take advantage of her fate. And sure enough, when the box reached the shores of the Celeria kingdom, the servants immediately brought it into Zorak's dark tower. In excitement, he rushed forward, trembling as he opened the box, imagining himself holding the princess in his hands, ready to ascend to the throne. But as the lid of the box was opened, a fierce roar rang out, shaking the entire room. Zorak jumped back in shock as a pair of cold eyes flashed in the darkness. "It can't be. This isn't my fate," the Black Panther growled, leaping out and grabbing him with its sharp claws. Zorak fell. His breath caught as he felt the claws graze his pale skin. He screamed frantically, banging on the door for help. "Save me! Open the door!" But outside, his students stood still, remembering their master's original instructions. "No matter what I order, do not open the door." They stood silently, filled with doubt, but not daring to disobey. Zorak struggled desperately, cold sweat pouring down his forehead. The room he once considered a safe place was now a prison, and the one holding him was none other than his blind ambition. Have you ever been trapped in your plans? Sometimes we think we can control everything, but it is greed and arrogance that makes us prisoners of fate. Zorak can only run around the room now, desperately searching for a way out. But there is nothing but darkness and the panting of the Black Panther hunting its prey. When dawn breaks, the students outside dare to open the door. They see their magician lying motionless on the floor, breathing weakly, eyes filled with fear. He is no longer an arrogant and strong man, but just a man broken by the bitter lessons of life. And on the Silver River, the box contains love and hope that leads Aurora to her destiny. In the kingdom of Lunaris, she and Orion build a new future together, where sincerity and love triumph over greed and lies. Zorak's story is a profound reminder. What are you pursuing in your life? Are you letting greed lead the way? Or are you sober enough to realize that true happiness does not come from endless schemes and ambitions? The sun rose silently over the kingdom of Celeria, bringing its first rays of light through the dark tower where the mage Zorak lay motionless after a long night of terror. His eyes were wide open, filled with fear, and his breathing was rapid, as if he could still hear the roar of the Black Panther echoing in his mind. The hand that once held power now trembled, and the only thing left inside him was a deep emptiness, a punishment that came from none other than his insatiable greed. When the servants entered, they no longer saw the image of a powerful mage. but only a thin, haggard man, drowned by his intrigue. The Salaria Palace was no longer a place where he could rule with sweet words and cunning plans. The news of Zorak's defeat quickly spread throughout the kingdom, becoming a cautionary tale that the people passed on to each other. Greed can lift people to great heights, but it can also drag them down to the abyss. Far away, in the kingdom of Lunaris, Princess Aurora and Prince Orion were writing a completely different story. A story of resilience, faith, and true love. No longer bound by the arrangements of others, Aurora had finally found her path. Their wedding took place under the bright moonlight, where everything was in harmony with joy. Aurora wore a sparkling silver dress, her face radiant as the fate she had bravely faced. When Orion took her hand before the eyes of all the people, the princess realized that happiness is not something that is predetermined, but something we must seek for ourselves, despite the challenges. Outside the church, the gentle breeze blew through the petals, whispering a profound lesson. No one can escape fate, but we can always choose how to face it. Have you ever wondered what you are pursuing in life? Have you ever felt caught up in your ambitions, only to lose the true value of happiness? The story of Aurora and Zorak is a reminder that wealth and power cannot replace kindness and sincerity. There are things that, when we try to hold on to at all costs, will only make us lose more. At the end of this story, you may wonder, what path are you choosing for yourself? Are you brave enough to let go of greed and seek true happiness? The story of Aurora and Zorak is not only a fairy tale about love and greed, but also a mirror of our own lives. Sometimes we are so busy chasing after shiny things on the outside that we forget the true value inside our hearts. Greed can bring beautiful dreams, but it can also drown us in darkness if we do not know when to stop. Aurora taught us that, even if you are swept away by the flow of fate, you still have the right to choose your path. She did not let fear control her, but instead bravely accepted the challenge and found the light of love and perseverance. And Zorak? He is a clear example of how what we try to obtain at all costs can eventually become a burden that crushes us. Have you ever wondered what you are living for? Take a moment to reflect. Sometimes, happiness is not a distant destination, but the sincere moments we live every day. If you feel this story has touched your heart, click like to spread this inspirational message to more people. Share to remind your loved ones that life always has valuable lessons. And don't forget to leave a comment and share a quote that you like most about life to spread positive energy together. Stay tuned for the next meaningful stories, where every passing moment contains unexpected and profound lessons. Click the end screen now to continue the journey of discovering inspirational stories.